Well, better late than never is what they are. Sorry, this one is all on me today. I can't even blame technology or anything else. So my apologies as we get underway with the Lion Country Key, a Goon and Ironhead show on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox in and around Center County. And, of course, as always, on the YouTube channel and wherever you may find us on social media. The dear Booch, Chris Bucanani, filling in for Goon today.
Yo.
He is southward bound and hopefully having a good time and recovering a bit as we get ready for the season opener for the Nittany Lions, Penn State, and Nevada.
Do you want to know what amazes me, Ironhead?
What is that?
Since you're talking about the season opener, there are people out there. I got a good buddy of mine, a co-host of the Let's Talk Penn State podcast, Steve Gargiulo. He's despite being something of a tech bro himself for many years, has never done one of the rites of passage, which is go out and do Burning Man. So he's going to Burning Man this year. So he's going to miss the Nevada game. And Goon, you don't get more Penn State than Goon. You go, as you said, he's flying south for the winter for a weekend here. I truly would love to understand the mentality of the people whose lack of OCD, I guess, allows them to miss one of these games, no matter how trivial. Like, I've got to be there on Saturday. Logically, objectively, I understand we're going to grind this team into dust without difficulty. I got to be there. Just got to do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, I will say over the years I have become accustomed, but it's ridiculous, and I understand it, but it was something where I'm like, well, no, they need to reschedule these wrestling matches. Early in my career, we would have, in those days, it was the Matttown tournament, almost always, would take away from a Penn State weekend. Now, about every other year they were on the road, so it wasn't a big deal. But I remember the first time I missed a home game, and I had been going, I don't think I had missed a game since either 77 or 78 when I was a kiddo. I was born in 69, so again, I'm probably 8-ish. And one way or another got to every home game until, and I actually don't remember the specific game now, what was the first that I missed because of covering wrestling, because that was my job. It's like, wait a second, you mean
what's going on here?
Like, I really want to do this, and I love doing these broadcasts, but we seriously can't work this out that I can go to the game and still cover this. Now, I've, again, over the years, have come to terms with it. I'm okay with missing it. Missed the SMU game last year, but knew that was happening. Was at peace with it. Understood it. But I'm with you. If I'm here, if I'm in town, you need to be there. And it is, these first three games, I know they are as sure W's as you can have when it comes to big-time athletics. But there is, for me, so much intrigue with some of the, like, who is going to be the first quarterback off of the bench when Drew Aller does get to sit down? Who is going to be that third running back that gets into the game? I want to see this receiver rotation. I want to see, as these three games play out, all right, are these receivers looking like we are being told, like they are going to be productive, big-time receivers, that the receiving core issues have been solved, that they not only have a guy that can go out there, that they have the 5 or 6 that the team and the coaches are saying, yeah, no, we're ready to roll. Like, this is a good group. It might not be one of the top 3 or 5 receiving cores in the country, but it's a solid group, not going to be a weakness. Cool. Sounds great. I just want to see it. I want to see how that unfolds. And I don't necessarily doubt that because I do think, I think when you look at the production and Booch, I am probably overly excited to see Pena, because I really do think he is going to be, I'll use air quotes here, big time receiver. Meaning that he's going to make plays. He's going to be a guy that catches the ball downfield and makes some plays. And that's not to say the other guys won't. I think there's, again, I like what they did with the transfer portal there, not just because they got help at a position they obviously needed help in, but they got a variety of games with those three receivers. They all bring a little different element to the table. They all have a different element to which, or a different degree to which they have established themselves here as at least Division I receivers. So I'm curious to see that. I'm curious to see. There's a lot of talk about Jim Knowles and the impact he has on the defense. The one thing, and I've been listening to so much now, I think this was actually on Joe Lednowski's show, which precedes ours here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox, but I think it was yesterday, and I could be wrong, and I'm not even sure who it was he was talking to, but and it might have been Jim Galante. Again, I might be getting my host mixed up here. But they were talking about that defense and, man, what an impact Knowles can make. And whoever the guest was, and I apologize, I'm not trying to slight him. I should be giving him credit. But he said, the one thing I think it'll work out. It's a very talented defense, but the history with Jim Knowles is he's a great coordinator, and it's a really complicated defense that he runs, and it usually takes a couple of years to figure that system out. This is not a program that is designed to give it a couple of years to figure out the system. Like they got to be ready to go here. Now, I suspect Jim Knowles recognizes the situation very well, and if you want to call it dumbing down the defense or whatever, but making it so that everybody, hey, yeah, we get what we're doing here. We get the concepts. We don't need to go through an entire season to figure it out. I have to believe that, he's smart enough, the players are smart enough that they'll get this thing rolling. But it is worth, a little concern. Hey, how does this defense look, albeit against clearly inferior competition in these first three games? But, man, do you have a good feel? Does it look like there's communication issues, or do they look like, nope, we're pretty well dialed in? So, to me, there's a lot of things and those are just some of the things that I think it's going to be an intriguing first three games. Not so much that you're, all right, what's the result going to be, or for our bettors out there in the audience, I'm sure there will be a lot of intrigue surrounding with the cover and all of that. But I do think just from a football standpoint, looking ahead to the rest of the season, a lot to try to digest here with these first three games in particular. And then obviously we get into the real stage of the season.
Then it gets real.
That everybody.
Hey, can I speak to the Jim Knowles takes a year to install his defense meme, we'll call it, at this point? Because that's all you have heard from Ohio State fans all off season is, oh, you guys, you bad timing, because you have this team that's bringing back all this talent, and here you are, you're going into that season with Jim Knowles, and the whole first year is going to be a wash. Well, so I want to address a couple of points about this. Number one, Jim Knowles was, Jim Knowles built his reputation first at Oklahoma State, which under Mike Gundy and even before, but certainly while Gundy's been there, has been known almost exclusively as a high-flying offense team, right? Like, we're going to beat you 58-52. And Jim Knowles went in there and actually made Oklahoma State a team whose identity was defense first by the time he left, which is a really remarkable accomplishment in that conference and with that program. Yes. And so, it took him a little while because he was taking over the Oklahoma State defense. And then Ohio State was, by their standards, getting some really lackluster performances out of their defense. And they were looking to, how can we fill our coordinator vacancy and really upgrade here? And so they looked at that renovation job he'd done down in Stillwater and said, that's the guy. And Penn State, by the way, was after Jim Knowles at that time when we ended up hiring Manny Diaz. It was a great hire as well.
No
but
doubt.
Ohio State just came in and outbid us for Jim Knowles, who was James Franklin's first choice at the time. And so Ohio State's secondary was a mess. Its defensive line was underperforming. The personnel that were there in Columbus were not the type of players that they've had. And you're thinking about these Jim Knowles defenses of the last 2 years.
Yep.
So I think by far, if you look at the 3 stops since he's become a quote unquote big time coordinator, Penn State is far and away the deepest, best established crop of talent he's inheriting. Penn State had the number 8 defense in the country last year. I think when he got to Ohio State, they were 28, 23. I mean, big delta between where OSU was when he got there and where Penn State is now. And just one other point about addressing all of that. I get the sense from Knowles that while he's a no BS guy, and he's definitely, in terms of the way he communicates, kind of a quiet storm. I mean, the dude is not going to blow you away with his charisma.
Yep.
I also get the sense like he doesn't really mind being asked pointed questions.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I think it's painfully obvious when James Franklin is irritated with a question he's been asked. And that's pretty much any time that question has even the slightest hint of a hard edge to it.
Yep.
And so on media day, Jim Knowles got asked about this speculation about how long it takes him to install his defense. And immediately when the question came out, I thought, oh boy, let's see how he handles this. He's not going to like this. The guy didn't bat an eyelash. He acknowledged it right out of the gate and was very forthright about the fact that, maybe that has been an issue for him at past stops, and he's aware of it, and he's proactively taken steps to address it. So when I look at the raw material he's inheriting here versus where he was at in year 1 at Oklahoma State or Ohio State, and then I consider the fact that somebody who's making the money he's making, because he's considered to be one of the sharpest defensive minds in college football, is aware of this and is working to fix the problem. It's something to watch for, but I'm not losing sleep over it either.
No, I'm with you. I am curious to see, just again, at how it looks. He almost, I should say, I almost expect. Take the new coordinator out of it early in the season. And we just, I'm fortunate enough to do the PA for the state high games. And there were a lot of penalties both ways.
There sure were.
Game. And there was a lot of talk,
to say the least,
in the booth about, man, this is a pretty consistent theme over the years. Is that first game, you just see a lot of penalties that you don't see, generally speaking, later in the year.
Ironhead, I don't want to totally derail this conversation. Yeah. Maybe that's the brand of this program. But I have to ask you, since you brought that up, are they penalizing the thing now that all the old men love to complain about, with the football players wearing the pants up above their kneecaps? Is that a penalty this year?
I'm telling you. So my understanding is that you are warned the first time. It's an equipment. It's the equivalent of not having your mouthpiece in.
Okay.
Which you're supposed to have your mouthpiece in for every play too. And if you don't, it's an equipment failure or equipment. I forget the term. Failure is not right, but equipment. Improper use of equipment, something to that effect.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I get it. I'm an old school guy. Yeah. It's a little offensive to my sensibilities seeing these guys wearing football pants and they look like John Stockton out there. I didn't realize, though, it was actually you could potentially get penalized for it.
Yes. So apparently, because this has become such a thing, that the PIAA went back and revisited it, and it's like, you have to have it at least covering your knee. And State High had 2 players. I don't even know if they got a snap off. I'm forgetting now. There might have been a snap, but they had their running back and a receiver. Both got they had to sit out a play. You get warned and you have to go make the adjustment. And then I believe, if I understood because I asked about it, so I think then you can be, I don't know that it's a must, but you can be penalized then individually, if you as an individual get a second warning, if you will.
Wild.
So you get warned, and it's like, all right, now you got to keep your knee covered.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to take you off the track. You were talking about how you were expecting early in the season, probably some natural miscues you'd see.
Just miscommunication. And again, that's not uncommon. And you have faces that'll be obviously there on the defensive side. But what you're hoping, you're hoping that you never have any of those miscommunications. Then listen, you see NFL teams with experienced coordinators and guys that have been playing in the league for years. You have a player, oh man, how many times you see it? It's receivers field. It's like, oh, that's a coverage. There was miscommunication there. So sorry, we're having my ongoing technical issues. But I do want to see, man, does it feel like after those first three games, like, nope, these guys again have it pretty well locked down? Does this thing seem like it's overly complicated? I'm kind of with you, Booch. Like it's not something I'm expecting that, oh man, yeah, just everybody's going to be walking around confused. Tony Rojas is going to be, what am I supposed to be doing out here? I have no idea. This is so hard. Not what I'm expecting. But I think it's worth watching. Just, how solid does this look? How effective does the defense look? And again, I'm not saying in those first three games you're going to get a sense of, okay, yep, this is one of the best defenses in the world, hopefully, I guess you'll have some concerns if each of these first three opponents are getting into the high 20s or early 30s on your defense. But I'm not expecting that. It's more so just, again, does this thing look like, everybody kind of gets it, and it's looking like you ought to have some confidence going into that Oregon game. So to me, there's a lot of intrigue, a lot to watch for in these first three games, just to have a sense of, all right, what is my degree of confidence that this team is going to be able to live up to the expectations, and that this whiteout is going to be the experience that everybody is hoping it is when Oregon comes to town. And again, I have a pretty high degree of confidence that all of that will be trending in the right direction by the time we get to Oregon. But still want to see it on the field. It's different talking about it. It's different hearing coaches and players say, yep, we feel good about it. And then seeing, that couple of touchdown passes there by Pena. He looked good, looked sharp. Aller's passes were right on target. Again, nobody's going to be sitting there saying, all right, now we know we're going to handle Ohio State and win the national title. But we're going to get a sense, okay, yeah, man, this thing looks like these guys are ready to go, and that the program is ready to take that next big leap forward.
Yeah, there are, so despite the talent and the depth all over the roster, despite the ranking, the justifiable hype, there are a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball, specifically along the defensive line, Ironhead. And I do think these first three games, the degree to which the starters can handle business and help the team really put the pedal to the metal early, to create opportunities for those guys, again, especially on the defensive line, but it's safety as well. Those are the two areas where I am really looking for how can some of the untested talent just get the experience of being in a college football game that counts in the record books, in Beaver Stadium, in front of 100,000 fans, hopefully at a time when the game is still not totally in hand, like you're out there and you're up by 35, 40 points. How are they going to perform? And you want that. You need those guys to get meaningful game reps. That's as close as they are going to get to live fire to prepare them for conference play. So they should play as much as possible. And so if the starters can just go in and take care of business to where you're starting to see them taking their helmets off early in the second quarter, that to me gives me more confidence that despite the fact that Oregon is going to have a much tougher road to get to whiteout weekend than Penn State,
For
that
sure.
we can just rely on the fact that the frontline talent on this team is just composed of so many veterans who have been there and done it for so long. To your point about adapting to Jim Knowles' scheme, a lot of these guys have gone through a Manny Diaz install, a Tom Allen install, and now they're doing it with Jim Knowles. So they're veteran at this stuff. So I do think from the perspective of State needing to break in all of this depth that they have been able to accumulate on the recruiting trail, in some ways the schedule works in our favor in the non-conference.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, and especially again, as Goon and I have been talking about it, it is such a long season now. Presuming you get into the playoffs, if you play that Big Ten championship game, and then another hopefully 3 games in the playoffs, possibly even 4. That depth becomes, it's always important on a football team, but I just think it's becoming more and more vital that you have guys that, again, have that experience and have gained the confidence through their play on the field, both for themselves and that the coaching staff now, if this guy goes down, we know this guy can come in, maybe not quite the same level, but we're completely fine with them. And so I do think, those first 3 games are big for that kind of dual reason. When you talk about depth is let's get the first teamers out of there so that we're not risking early injury to them in a game that should be well in hand, that you shouldn't have to worry about, and getting that valuable playing experience for guys that, again, just inevitably, you're going to need at some point. Hopefully it'll be just for a series here or there, or possibly a game or 2. But, again, it's football. Somewhere along the way, somebody's going to go down, and you're going to need somebody to step up for the rest of the season here. So I agree, because of the way the season plays out now, because of the experience that this team has coming back, and all of that. I think if there was a season to have a schedule that Penn State does in the non-conference schedule, this is it, because this team already is tested. These guys, to a very large degree, the key components of this team, I already know they've been in the fire. They know the big game situations, and those that haven't been in there in those situations. Again, you have 3 games to get your feet wet, and then that first big game. My God, what an atmosphere to be walking into. You have a home crowd very solidly behind you. So I think even that, if you're drawing up, hey, this is how we want to introduce these guys to their first big time experience. We have the confidence of 3 wins under our belt, hopefully getting some good plays individually with those guys that you're relying on the depth chart. And then that first game, again, where you're really testing them, you're testing them in one of the great environments in all sports, really. So I think that sets up very nicely for the Nittany Lions in the upcoming season. Couple of things I do want to just touch on from over the weekend too. Little League World Series wrapped up. Chinese Taipei, it's one of those things that's going to be similar to when, or should I say if, the Dallas Cowboys ever win another Super Bowl. Like Chinese
I like the
Taipei,
if, by the way, there.
has won lots of Little League World Series. But it has been a long time since Chinese Taipei won the Little League World Series. You got to go back to the previous century. So while I think it was their 18th overall title, it was first since 1998, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't actually, I was just checking my stuff. I don't think I brought those notes with me. But remarkable run for Las Vegas. We actually got to see them in action. Went down 8 days ago,
It occurs to me I have no idea if I am still live on the stream or not. So I'm just sitting here staring at the camera like Garth Algar after Wayne Campbell walked off the set. There's a reference for some segment of the viewing audience, if in fact it exists at the moment of a certain age. So I really got nothing to add about the Little League World Series. So I'm just going to go back and talk a little bit more about Penn State's defense and what I think we can learn from the Nevada game this Saturday, because I understand that a lot of people look at this non-conference schedule in its totality and this opponent this week in particular, and they think this is just a complete laugher. There's a reason why the tickets are going from somewhere between $5 to $15. I mean, you can get into the game for less than you can get a single beer out of one of those walk-in refrigerators. I think because there is so much veteran talent all over the roster on this team, you look at the offense and it's absolutely loaded with it. Even in the receiving core where we had to do the overhaul via the transfer portal, you still had wide receivers come in who had played a lot of football at the, for the most part, big to biggish time programs where they played previously. I like the fact that Kyron Hudson played a season in the Big Ten and played at USC, who I understand didn't get the results they were hoping for last year, but still had a really talented team and is still a big-time program. Syracuse, I think, is really headed in the right direction under Stan Brown, had a tremendous season last year, exceeded all expectations in the ACC. Great experience for Trevor Pena. Both of those guys were team captains where they came from. And listen, I understand that Troy is not a program that's going to ping on anybody's radar when it comes to brand awareness, but they've been a great feeder for talent into the Power Four. Tez Johnson, who ripped us up in the Big Ten championship game last year, was a former Troy receiver who transferred for one final year out there in Oregon. And so very similar, you hope you can get something like that out of Devontae Ross. So there's talent, depth, but most of all, veteran experience at the top of the roster on the offensive side of the ball. When you look at defense, especially depending on the health situation of a few key guys, that's not there. You were relying way more on athletic talent, recruiting profile, and development, which I think is great news, because not just with Jim Knowles at the top of the ladder on defense, if you go down and you look at the roster of assistants who Penn State has brought in, there's a reason why James Franklin feels comfortable saying this is the best overall depth, not just among his players, but his coaching staff that Penn State has had while he's been here. And frankly, it might be the best depth Penn State has had top to bottom ever, because you're able to have a lot more coaches on staff now than you could back in the day. Deion Barnes, the defensive line coach, Dan Connor, program legend, coaching the linebackers, Terry Smith, who has done just an unbelievable job turning Penn State improbably, if based on how the program has been historically, into a DB factory, sending corners to the NFL. And then Anthony Poindexter, who has done a great job with the safeties and once again has sent multiple guys up to the next level. There are going to be at least 4 Anthony Poindexter kids in the 2 deeps of NFL rosters on opening day next weekend. So you got great coaches there to develop what we think are incredibly gifted athletes. But as Head and I were talking about earlier in the program, they haven't been there. They haven't done it. What's happening, Head? I have no idea whether I've been live or not, so I just kept talking just in case.
I think you haven't. I wasn't sure. I was pretty sure I wasn't, but I think you're good. We're
okay. So just to finish the point.
Yep.
James Franklin, I was kind of joking a little bit about the way he loves to be evasive in his press conferences at times, I thought was uncharacteristically candid about the depth chart on defense when he spoke to the press yesterday. And a couple of things caught my attention in particular. He did confirm that Chaz Coleman, who is a true freshman defensive end, who has been generating a ton of buzz coming out of camp to the point that I was talking to Tengwall a week ago, and he said, I had my preview video of the defensive line recorded. Then I went to practice and I saw Chaz Coleman. I went home and deleted it and started over. I mean, he does truly seem to be one of these kids who is just so transcendent a talent that he's ready to play and make an impact right out of the gate. Well, he's maybe going to have to, because when Zariah Fisher's name came up, James Franklin kind of cryptically said he is still recovering and bouncing back from those long-term injuries he had.
Yeah.
Well, outside Denai Dennis Sutton, Zariah Fisher is it when it comes to veteran talent on the edge for Penn State. So Chaz Coleman might be a day one starter. And across the defensive line, same deal kind of on the defensive side of the ball. You got two veterans. You've got your superstar, Zane Durant, and then you've got a very talented veteran who's battled injury issues in Alonzo Ford.
Yep.
And same deal after that, whether it's edge or inside at tackle. A lot of guys you've heard good things about. And if you look at what was expected of them based on their recruiting profile, you feel like these are the type of players who Deion Barnes can mold into instant impact guys.
Yep.
But we have not seen them do it. And so defensively, I think, again, I just want to stress that if there is a storyline to come out of this first game and to come out of this trio of non-conference opponents, I want it to be that there are names on the defensive side of the ball, going back to safety as well, with Antoine Belgrave Shorter making a surprise appearance in James Franklin's list of starters who are going to open the game with the number ones on Saturday. There's Dejon Lane and then King Mack coming back. Those guys, I want people to be talking about a few of them. And if they're not, by the time we get through all three of these games, that could be a sign of trouble down the line.
No doubt. And getting pressure, the old cliche is a cliche for a reason. It all starts up front, and that's on both sides of the ball. And you go back to the great Georgia teams and Alabama and Clemson and all down history. You've got to have on defense, you've got to have guys that are getting pressure on the quarterback, and you've got to be, containing opposing teams' ground games. And I get they're not going to be severely tested in these first three games. At least you're certainly not expecting them to get any great tests. But with that in mind, you want to see them go out there and let's dominate teams that you should be dominating, even if it is a second, third, maybe even in some spots, fourth team guys out there, because that is going to give you an indication that, these guys are going to be ready to go. And again, it's confidence is just such a big part of it to me. And Booch, if these guys can go out and play well, you get, a couple of these backups, get a sack or get a couple of big stops at the line of scrimmage with the run game on the inside. That it just then you kind of, all right, you know what, I belong out here. I'm supposed to be Penn State. And then you get into the Oregon game, and it's a tough sledding, and it's a much tougher physical matchup. But now you have that belief, that inner confidence that you know what, I got this, and I'll figure this out as the game unfolds.
The other good thing is those guys have been going against Penn State's offensive line and Penn State's offense all summer long, dating back to prep for the blue-white game. So we want to believe Ironhead, and I think it's true. I mean, in my experience, the BTN guys who come and do the campus tours, those guys are pros. I think they do a really good job. I have found them to be pretty level-headed over the years. I think have given pretty accurate assessments of the team in the time that they spend with them. They give their review on what they think about it. And as somebody who's closer to it and follows it way more closely than they do, I typically end up coming out of that show thinking, I think they got a pretty good sense of where we're at. And Jerry DiNardo said, this is the best team we've seen in 19 years. So I really think what we believe this team to be is what they are. And if that's true, these young defensive guys aren't going to go against too many teams on Saturdays who are as tough and talented as the ones they're seeing in practice. So that's a positive too.
Yeah, no question. And, and I think that, again, they have where you have that inexperience, you have guys who have talent, but have a lot of experience. And so I think obviously, I think they have a great coaching staff, but also I think a Dennis Sutton and a Zane Durant can take those guys aside and say, hey, man, work on this. This is what you're actually going to feel here, and this is how you can adjust to that. So I think, it's also where you have the leadership and where you have the experience. And I think, throughout this team, but on defense in particular, again, you have a couple of really good veterans, and I don't mean good just talent-wise, which they are, but also good in that they have a feel for the game, and I think they know the importance because they both had guys that took them under their wings and helped show them the way. So I think that's, one of the nice things about the culture that we talk about that James Franklin has established here is that these guys are able to help one another. And I think they can. It's one thing when a coach tells you something, it's another when a teammate is kind of reinforcing it. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. Are you feeling this? Because I know that's what I felt when I first got here, and this is what I did to get. That's a big deal for a player to, oh man, this guy who now may be a first team All-American this year is telling me what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing and how to work through it. I just again, I'm very optimistic about this team just because I think while it's inexperienced with some of that depth, the talent I do firmly believe is there. And I just think, again, because of the way the schedule plays out, who they have surrounding those younger players, I remain very, very optimistic about the way all of that is going to work out this particular season. We're going to take a break here. We are going to be back, and I'll probably be here in and out for the rest of the show. That's what I like to do. We continue. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon Ironhead show here on Sports Radio 98.7. The Fox.
No one likes making trips to the gas station. Well, Lion Country Kia can help. If you're tired of going to the gas station all the time, Lion Country Kia can help with the 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrid. Save now with 2.9% APR financing for up to 48 months. And get $500 Kia Finance bonus cash. There's 14 available that get 38 MPG combined. Say goodbye to all those pump visits. 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrids start at just $32,285. And be sure to check out the full Kia lineup too. And their selection of certified pre-owned Kias. Remember, every new Kia comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Ease that pain at the pump with a 38 MPG combined 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrid from Lion Country Kia, 1334 Drivable Street off Shiloh Road behind Sam's Club, State College.
Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. For details, see dealer or go to kia.com.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things. Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
Your first half champion, State College Spikes, host the 2025 MLB Draft League Championship game at Medler Field at Lebrano Park, Thursday, September 4th. Get your tickets now for just $10 a piece. Enjoy Dollar Dog Night with $1 hot dogs and Thirsty Thursday with $2 12-ounce drafts while supplies last. And the Spikes offer free admission to all students in partnership with Penn State Spa, the Student Programming Association. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Hi, welcome to Timberland Federal Credit Union, a financial cooperative for its members. tracing all the way back to 1973.
Experience Timberland Federal Credit Union, where you're greeted with a smile and financial solutions are tailored to your unique life journey. Here, we're not just financial professionals, we're your neighbors. People invested in your financial needs, literacy, and empowerment. Your dreams matter to us, whether they're about buying a home, growing a nest egg, or embarking on new adventures. TFCU draws from the past and invests in the future, offering modern tools like online banking to give you the freedom to manage your money practically anytime. Additionally, we're passionate about giving back both time and resources because enhancing our community is at the core of why we're here. Visit TFCU in person or online to learn more about our services and apply for a membership today.
WFXX, once again,
Your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority. WFXS America. 98.7 The Fox State College. The Goon and Ironhead.
And now back here on a Tuesday afternoon as we get ready for Penn State football on Saturday. Again, the Nittany Lions and the Wolfpack of Nevada getting underway at 3:30 at Beaver Stadium. Exciting time of the year. Again, we've got the U.S. Open tennis tournament underway. High school football season, of course, began last weekend, this past Friday. We have all of the fall sports, and we've been talking a lot about the expectations, not just for football, but of the Penn State athletic season here in the 25-26 school year. And certainly the women's soccer team off to a good start, hard-fought loss at Duke, and then a couple of good wins. The women's volleyball team, dramatic win yesterday. If you didn't see that, had to rally past Kansas, a good Kansas team. Penn State was on the brink. They were a point away from losing 3-1, but they pull out the 5-set victory, and they're off to a 2-0 start. A couple of more ranked opponents coming up at a tournament in Pittsburgh this coming weekend on Sunday and Monday, and so we're off and running here in this fun time of the year. And again, it's just, it is, you can feel the energy in town once the students come back. Obviously, that energy will ramp up quite a bit this weekend as folks come in for the season opener. And I've had a few folks, including my morning show cohort, Scott Giesius. Oh man, it's so much pressure on these guys. Expectations are so high, and they're apprehensive about it. And I'm like, guys, this is what you want, right? Like if you are, you want to be the big dog. You want to be perceived as the big dog. And yeah, there's pressure that comes with that, but embrace it. Again, it's all in how you look at it. You can look at it as pressure, or man, we have an opportunity to go out and return this program to ultimate glory and go down as one of the all-time great teams in a storied program's history. Well, that's a pretty cool opportunity when you sit back and look at it. And I just think all of the experiences that these guys have had, Booch, and Goon and I have talked quite a bit about it. I really do like the fact that James Franklin has his doubters out there and has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder that, hey, we got to go out and prove that we can beat these top teams. I like that Drew Aller didn't like it in the moment last year with Notre Dame, but I like now that he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. These guys are both really, really good at their respective jobs. And yep, it's a job now for Drew Aller and company, true job. But they also both really feel like they have something to prove. And I don't know that they're necessarily out there to prove it to everybody else. I think internally, Aller wants to be the quarterback of a championship winning team and be a big part of the reason why they won the championship. Not that, oh man, there's the mistake that cost us the opportunity here. And James Franklin obviously wants to be the coach that returns Penn State to a national championship, and he's talked about he wants to be the first African American head coach to win a national title. So I think both of those guys. I like that they have that edge. I like that there is the pressure, if you want to look at it that way, because it's been earned pressure. It's been through trials and tribulations over the last couple of years, and these guys wanting to come back and get one more shot at it here together. And so I'm just, again, we'll see how it plays out. Maybe I'm the one that is going to be saying, yep, I should have listened to everybody else. I am not worried at all about the pressure getting to them. Now, I'm not saying they're going to run roughshod over everybody and they're guaranteed to go undefeated or anything like that. I just don't think if they lose, it's going to be because somebody on a given day outplayed them that day. It's not going to be because, oh my gosh, I'm not sure. I think they are going to go out and I think they're going to play loose. I think they're going to have fun, and I think they're talented enough to beat anybody in the country. And I think there's only a handful of teams that at the end of the day can rival what Penn State can put on the field this year.
Yeah, Head, I have been thinking a lot recently about the 1997 and the 1999 teams for a variety of reasons. So I was in school for both of those years. So they are near and dear to my heart, the ups and the downs, of which there were high highs and low lows in both campaigns, but also because Penn State's never been a preseason number 2, but they were number 1 preseason in 97 and number 3 in 99. And as I pointed out on Twitter the other day, those 2 seasons, Joe Juravicius and LeVar Arrington, respectively, were on the covers of Sports Illustrated for the preseason. And now this year, when Penn State has its highest ranking since 97 or 93, both of them have kids on teams chasing national championships this fall at Penn State. That's Caroline Juravicius on the women's volleyball team and LeVar Arrington II on the football team.
Caroline Juravicius, by the way, just a quick side note, was named MVP of the match yesterday with Kansas. That team has tremendous balance, that women's volleyball team. But Caroline Juravicius is definitely, I think, this year a big part of. She just brings a little bit of different parts of the game to the floor, and she might be the most might contribute in the most different ways to this year's success. But she's again, just a remarkable player, but probably her biggest asset really is the leadership she provides on that team. Just a quick side note on.
Yeah, it would be very cool if both of his daughters could get to bring home those rings that Joe wasn't quite able to. Well, again, it's a different conversation for a different day as to whether or not Penn State should claim the 1994 national championship, which they should. But as we sit here today, they have not. So, but going back to the point about those 2 teams, I went back and I looked at it. The 97 team finished the regular season ranked number 11. So under the current system, they would have made the 12-team playoff. The 99 team, they ended up losing their last 3 regular season games. They were number 13 going into the Alamo Bowl, so they would have been just on the outside looking in. But here's the point I'm getting to. Both of those teams, because they were playing in a lose once and you're out for all intents and purposes system. Once they took their first L, they both kind of folded to varying degrees, kind of just like the 08 team, which won a Big Ten championship and was one of the funnest seasons around here. I think one of the most likable Penn State teams I can think of. I still think didn't have a ton of juice in the Rose Bowl because they believed they should have been playing for the national championship. Again, because you lose one. You lose focus once and you're out. You're done. Now, there are some people who will romanticize that and say it's been lost from the game, and maybe it has. But the fact of the matter is that the current system gives you a little bit of breathing room. You can take a mulligan. And so to the point about what the pressure cooker and what it does to the mentality of a college football team, I just think that's entirely different now when we've introduced margin of error in an era of 12-team playoffs versus BCS and there's only 2, or even the 4-team playoff field. So, yeah, I agree there's pressure on this team, unquestionably. But even if they let them get to it at some point during the regular season, that's not the end of the story, not even close.
Yeah, no question about it. And that is one of the things that I think is going to be an interesting storyline. You go back to last year and Ohio State, and obviously the loss to Michigan in the moment was devastating. And I'm sure in Columbus felt like it was extremely.
We lost Ironhead there. He'll be back in a moment. But I think in the wake of Ohio State having won that national championship last year, you want to talk about pressure. I think we forget here in Happy Valley, because Penn State has struggled so much to beat Ohio State, the pressure that Ryan Day was facing and the criticism that he couldn't win the big game, and the fact that Ohio State had that $20 million roster. Had what I was just saying was you raise a great point. There was a ton of Ohio State pressure on Ohio State coming into that season. And I'm not, Ryan Day is probably in the unemployment line back in the day if he loses that Michigan game. I mean, that's what cost John Cooper his job at Ohio State once upon a time. But again, because they got the mulligan and then got hot in the playoffs, nobody really cares.
Well, and so here's the other, and I keep thinking about this just because, like, I have the way I think this season is going to play out. And then it's going to be interesting, obviously, to see how it actually does play out. But here's one of those things: is I think this team is as well positioned as any, certainly in the James Franklin era, but maybe any since that '99 team to go undefeated during the regular season.
Agreed.
Here is, but. This is the interesting thing to me, and hopefully, again, the hope and the way I honestly do think this season will play out is I think this team is going to run the table, period. I don't think they're going to lose a football game.
Like a complete idiot, I picked the same thing on the first episode of Obligatory this season. I feel like a moron, but you know what? I'm committed now, Head, so I'm right in there with you.
So here is the thing. If you told, and obviously it's not an either or situation, and I understand that, but we're just playing the hypothetical game. There isn't anybody in Nittany Nation. I am 99.9% positive on this. There might be some knucklehead out there that's an exception, but 99.9% of Nittany Nation is like, yeah, we can lose. I'm okay with losing at Ohio State in the regular season if this team then goes on and wins the national title, in particular, if they get the opportunity to avenge that regular season loss, either in the Big Ten championship game or in the playoffs, or, which is the potential this year, both, which could happen. They could have 3 meetings this year between the Nittany Lions and the Buckeyes.
Please put a pin in that, because I want to ask you a question about that later, but go on.
Yeah, so here is the thing. Like, you look back at Ohio State last year, again, a couple of regular season losses, and then you go on and win the national title. Because it's Ohio State and that Michigan rivalry is what it is, there's still some Ohio State fans that actually aren't completely happy with the way last season, like, hey, you're not getting the big picture here, kids. But so that is what it is. But generally speaking, most common sense folks are like, wow, you've achieved the ultimate goal. No big deal.
Yeah, I said nobody cares. That's not true. There are certainly some folks who care that much about that rivalry that they care. Even the folks who are happy with the national championship care a little bit. But for all intents and purposes across the country, nobody remembers much, especially as it gets farther and farther out from the time it happens, than who won the title, and that's Ohio State.
Right. But here, so this is the thing is, again, you're wanting to go undefeated, period. Everybody understands that. The concern, right, would be, all right, you put to bed the concerns, man, you can't beat a top 5 team. Well, you beat Oregon in the whiteout, you go out and you get that win in Columbus, and then really doesn't either way with the Big Ten championship game. Either you end up losing that game and Ohio State evens the score after you get the regular season win, or even if you win that game, to a large degree, that Big Ten game, if you run the table in the regular season, is irrelevant for my discussion here, which is Oregon last year, again, number 1, undefeated. They win the Big Ten title. They get the bye, and now they're an afterthought. They're like, yeah, man, they had a good season last year. Didn't win the national title, not part of the Final Four. To me, worst case scenario for this team is that you actually do go undefeated in the regular season. And let's just say I do win the Big Ten championship game, go in as the 1 seed, and then get bounced in the quarterfinals. So on one hand, man, we conquered our Ohio State obsession. Not only conquered it on the road, maybe beat them twice. Just in this scenario, win the Big Ten championship, so you definitively conquer them and do everything you're supposed to, and then like the 4 teams that were the top 4 seeds last year, you're not in the Final Four. I mean, that would be a very bitter pill to swallow. And again, I get that it's not necessarily an either or situation, but I don't think there's anybody, any reasonable person anyway, in any nation that's like, yeah, okay, I'll take a loss at Ohio State if you come back and win the national title. And again, regardless of the Big Ten championship result, but especially, if you win the Big Ten title and let's say avenge that regular season loss to Ohio State and then win the title, all the better. But it's just, so there, I like the expanded playoffs. I like the idea of further expansion, whether it's 16 or 24. 24 might be going a little far even for me. But if they did that the way I think they should, I'd actually be okay with it, even though I don't know that it would really help the game that much. But I still don't like the idea that you have conference champions in Division I football that are not even considered. Not only do they not go, they're not even a passing thought of going. If you went to 24, what you could do, it's not what they would do, but what you could do is, all right, now we at least have a spot for all of the conference champions. Now, part of the problem with that is you're trying to put on a good television product and watching Alabama whoop up on the Sun Belt Conference champion, or Penn State whoop up on the Mountain West Conference champion. Not exactly compelling television, I guess.
That'd be a great scouting opportunity for Alabama, though, so they could look for any players who they were going to take in the transfer portal the next week.
Yes, indeed. Anyways, I do think that there's just this different dynamic now where the regular season, yes, it was a bigger deal before we went to the 12-team playoff, and certainly if we expand those playoffs. But also now you can have ultimate success in the regular season and still feel pretty empty, pretty hollow. Talk to Oregon fans last year. Hey, how good do you feel about that undefeated Big Ten championship run?
Who cares?
Not that great, actually. It's just different. And again, it's like that in every other sport. You go through the regular season in Major League Baseball, or in the New England Patriots go undefeated all the way to the Super Bowl. And it's like, they were great disappointment because of a sensational catch.
What do you want, a medal or a chest to pin it on?
Yeah. Again, the whole
ring is the thing, Ironhead.
Yep. But the ultimate goal is the national title. So, even if you blow all of this goodwill and enthusiasm and you come out and you lay an egg against Oregon on the whiteout night, okay. Another learning experience, boom, go on. And if you go on and win the national title, all will be forgiven for a what in the moment will be a devastating whiteout loss.
There is a reason, Ironhead, that you and I are able to laugh heartily at Penn State punting a ball into the backside of one of their own players in Tuscaloosa. right?
And getting doubled up, by the way, in that game. I mean,
Yeah.
it ends up being a 42-21 setback.
Yeah,
we're okay with
that
it.
was like a butt fumble level miscue, which practically no one remembers or talks about because, again, it's less than a footnote when you win that title. So I got to ask you two things in what you just brought up. First of all, I want to talk about the possibility. I don't know how likely it is, but it's definitely possible under the current system for two teams to play 3 times in a single season, which we see in the NFL because of divisions. I can remember one miserable year where the Eagles lost to the Giants 3 times in a single season. It's happened. It's never happened in college football. That has never happened. It's going to be entirely new to the sport. And as you pointed out, it's possible Ohio State beats Texas on Saturday. And so we end up with a scenario where they lose to Penn State in Columbus, as unbelievable as that may sound to at least me, even though I picked them to go 12-0 in the regular season. And then face Penn State in the Big Ten championship game and lose again. And so their only 2 losses are to the same team. And then there's a situation where those 2 teams could meet again in somewhere in the playoff bracket. Now, let me first ask you, as a longtime college football fan, is that at least somewhat offensive to your sensibilities? That as in college football, that you could beat a team twice and still have to go through them in the playoffs?
I mean, it's obviously not an ideal situation and not something that you'd be fired up about, especially if really, I think that.
Oh, boy. Lost the head here for a moment. He'll be right back in. So I am just going to give a little background as to why I asked this question. I was just thinking about this morning and running through some different scenarios for what the end of the regular season could look like for Penn State. And, of course, this possibility of the Nittany Lions and Buckeyes, irrespective of the outcome in Columbus, meeting up again in the Big Ten championship game. And what would that mean for the playoff brackets? And I got thinking to myself, my God, it is a not improbable scenario that could create conditions where these 2 teams meet 3 times in the regular season. Just the thought of it just sort of pissed me off. Just doesn't feel like college football to me. So that's just where I was going with that. It just, to me, that doesn't feel like college football.
I mean, it doesn't feel like what college football was.
Yeah, fair.
The thing about it is, what would be really tough, and if it doesn't happen this year with Penn State, it is going to happen at some point. I mean, it feels to me inevitable at some point here in the coming years. You're going to have a team that wins twice over another team and then does lose in the playoffs. So again, you take 2 of 3 in these series. But you're the team.
Yeah, I think Ironhead is right that it does feel like an inevitability. And in all likelihood, the only 2 conferences that are going to produce that kind of result are going to be the Big Ten and the SEC, because those are the only 2 conferences that have enough brand strength, so to speak, that they can have highly regarded, highly ranked teams meet in the regular season and then get their loser of their conference title game solidly into the playoff bracket. I was just saying this is going to be a Big Ten or an SEC team.
Yeah,
probably. And to your point about it being an inevitability, I'm just thinking right now off the top of my head, 2011, Alabama and LSU would have been under the new setup in the SEC. They would have been both participants in the SEC title game because no more divisions. And then both of them, irrespective of the outcome, would have been in the playoff bracket somewhere. So, yeah, it's going to happen. You're right.
And I do think it becomes really difficult to beat an opponent 3 times if you're on comparable footing, which obviously Penn State and Ohio State are comparable for sure this year in terms of talent and coaching. And so that advantage. If a team wins twice, right, you're like, all right, well, they're the better team. Except that, again, if they're both close games, right, that losing team now there's a little extra impetus, and there's a little greater sense of urgency. All right, we know we need to change some things. It's hard, and obviously, all teams are going to be changing things up each subsequent meeting. I mean, they do it in the NFL. We're going to throw in this little wrinkle, but you have to change things up if you've lost to this team twice. All right, well, we've got to figure out this, that. A little harder to be absolutely convinced that, yeah, man, we have to change things up. Well, why? What we did previously worked. Well, this team now is going to be more prepared for what we did. They're going to have some elements that will be different. So to me, when you have in any competition, if you have two individuals or two teams that are close and one has won a couple of times, the edge in that next meeting goes to the team that lost or the individual that lost, just because, again, they know they have to make some changes. They have a pretty good feel for what it is you do and what worked for you. And I do think it becomes a greater challenge for the team that won. It's why it is very difficult to beat somebody 3 times in a season in any sport at any level. So, and it would be a very bitter pill to swallow, right? Let's just play that out.
Put it mildly.
Yeah, Penn State wins in Columbus. All right, we finally got it off of our back. You beat them again in the Big Ten championship game. Man, now we proved decisively we've done it. You go undefeated. You're in as the number 1 seed. You get to the semifinals, and there you go. The season is lost because of the team that you handled in the two, what would have been, to that point, the 2 biggest moments of the season. Yeah, that would be really, really difficult to swallow. I don't know how. I mean, I don't think there's anything you can do to avoid that, and that's the nature of sports. And as you said, I mean, in any other sport, that possibility exists. If not meeting for a third time, it's certainly meeting a team that you have defeated and maybe even defeated decisively, and losing that game. And that's, again, that the playoffs just adds this whole different element, Booch, and it's interesting because the success or failure in the regular season or even in the conference championship game can be completely nullified. Again, Penn State could go undefeated, win the Big Ten championship game, and just have a game where, man, a couple of fumbles or whatever, just something goofy happens, and there you are, you're the number 1 seed, and you lose a tough game to the number 8 seed, and that's it. See ya. You're done.
A really wild scenario, which again isn't that far outside the realm of possibility, is everything we're describing could happen. You could have 12-0 Penn State versus Ohio State with 1 conference loss, and let's say they lose this Saturday. Their loss would be to number 1 Texas, and they could lose to Penn State, so they would have 3 losses, 2 of which were to the same team, and still get in. And, I was thinking about that, and I'm like, God, I hate the idea. Hate Ironhead. The notion of conference title game losers getting left out of the playoff bracket. But boy, I also kind of hate the idea of a team that doesn't have an otherwise ironclad resume losing to the same team twice and getting into the playoffs. So we're really going to have to readjust the way we think about this sport. Well, in this new era.
Yes. The other thing that would be fascinating to me about that scenario is not only would Ohio State, if it played out that way, have lost twice, they would have lost twice at home. How many times does a team
good point.
lose at home? And again, could be to the number 1 team on both occasions, but for a team to lose twice at home in college football, and then lose, a third game under whatever circumstances, and still get in. And listen, I think Ohio State would have, if everything else played out the way we're expecting, that'd be a pretty compelling argument. Well, yeah, we lost, and yeah, we lost 2 home games and 3 games overall, but potentially it could be the top 2 teams in the country. And if they win the rest of their games pretty convincingly, it'd be pretty hard to say.
That's what I'm saying. It would be a very strong case to make, which is kind of wild. So along those lines, the other thing I wanted to ask you, and you can't say this because you broadcast the wrestling team, you're way too close to the program, but I'm a fan. I can say it. No Penn State fan gives a crap about whether or not Penn State wins the Big Ten in wrestling. Okay. If we do it, neat. That's great. It's just another, laurel to throw up on the board and say, hey, look, Big Ten champions. Nobody cares. It rings the thing. It's all about team titles, individual national championships.
Yep.
And now, in the same way that the 14 playoff kind of made the bowl system irrelevant, I feel like the 12-team playoffs really hammered the last nail into the coffin of people caring about conference championships because, like you said, does anyone in Eugene care about a Big Ten championship when they get their doors absolutely blown off in the first playoff game they play? Probably not. They probably feel like they were made to look kind of fraudulent, frankly, till you got to the end of the season. And so the other thing I wanted to ask you is you talked about what feels like a fulfilling season for Penn State. I still love the idea of a conference championship. I still like any season that lets you put a year up on the luxury box front at Beaver Stadium. Yep. But has the Big Ten championship or any conference championship in football really reached the point where it's never mattered less in 2025? Do you think there's legitimacy to that?
I do, but I will say, because I thought that going into last year, and then as we got, and I think we might have even talked about it, it's like, well, this game really at the end of the day, and we say kind of it could work to Penn State's advantage to lose this game.
Yes.
Because you get the home game, and that certainly played out. I think there's no doubt. And it is part of why they need to go to the 16-team format anyway, because those it feels right now like those top 4 seeds are missing out on something, right? Like you don't want the reward to feel like a punishment. And I think to a large degree, especially when you look at the results now from last year, but even without those results, like you're looking at the 5, 6, 7, 8 seeds and the excitement on those campuses and with those fan bases, and you're sitting there, it's like, and we don't get to do this. Well, no, you were too good. You did too well during. But we would love to. This looks really fun and cool. Yeah, sorry. You won the championship. You're out. Like that. Feels.
You've got to play Ohio State and Texas. Meanwhile, the team you beat gets to play SMU and Boise. Congratulations. Now, here's your reward for the great season you just had.
I will say I do think because of I think Penn State would still be very happy to host a game. I don't think it'll feel devastating if Penn State goes into the playoffs as a 5 or a 6 seed this year. But because you did get that home game experience last year, and because you know very clearly what the goal is this season,
we'll skip it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal for Penn State this year if they end up a 1 or a 2 seed. It's like, I think we're okay with that. And I think, to get that 1 or 2 seed, part of it, Booch, is they're going to have handled on 2 occasions an extra week of preparation very well.
Yeah. No, as we're talking about this, I'm kind of maybe answering my own question that I'm thinking, do people care about winning these conference championships? Maybe not, and maybe they shouldn't, because, again, I do think they've been devalued by the changes in the system. I do think that because they have fixed, we'll say, the seeding in the playoffs from where it was last year, that the conference championship maybe becomes a byproduct of doing something that you are going to care about, which is getting a first-round bye And more importantly, getting a seed that allows you to have a more favorable path through the bracket. Like that was just the insane setup they had last year where you were penalized for winning your conference title game. So you got this trophy that, depending on what happened 2 weeks later, no one was going to care about. And he actually ended up with a booby prize because you had a much tougher road through the playoffs than the team that lost. They have, I think, to the extent that they're able, fixed that this year. And so I think your mileage will vary on whether or not you get any hit in the feels by seeing them put a year up on Beaver Stadium like I do. I care about that. It's been too long. 2016 has been sitting up there as all by itself in the James Franklin era for too long. I'm going to put 2025 up on that facade, ideally as national champions, but it would be great to bring home the Big Ten championship trophy again. But more importantly, because we're chasing the bigger trophy, because we're chasing that national title, I do think this is a team that can be a number 1 overall seed or a number two seed. And in order to get there and to get that bye, which I think will be important for this group, you're probably going to have to win the Big Ten.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think in the overall scheme of things, I think you're right. The conference championships are devalued, and certainly
fly solo again here for just a couple of minutes while Ironhead gets the technical details ironed out. This is the beauty of live broadcasting, folks. You just never know what is going to happen. You could find yourself alone staring into the camera with nothing but a microphone between you and the listening audience of Happy Valley, or you could have Ironhead pop in once again unexpectedly and just roll right through it seamlessly as if nothing ever happened.
You just never know. Here's the thing. I do think in the moment, and I'm going to go back to Penn State Wrestling here in just a moment too. So I was actually surprised with myself, like how caught up I got in that Big Ten championship game, because I am leading into it. I think even during that week we were talking about it. It's like, this really isn't a big deal. But
right
when that game kicked off, it's like, yeah, the competitive this is a fans competitive juice.
Yep.
Obviously, there's nothing at all for me, and I get it, but it's like, no, man, I want to win this game. I want to put Oregon in its place.
I am right in the same boat. I try to look at these things tactically, strategically, dispassionately. And I remember all the way back to August, I was looking at the setup of the bracket and saying, man, the hidden hack in the way this thing is put together is to actually end up with a 5 seed or a 6 seed. So you were playing a Mountain West or a Big 12 champion versus the second best team in the SEC or the Big 10. And so I knew it. I knew it was better, paradoxically, for Penn State to lose. But as soon as we started coming back in that game and we were going blow for blow with one of the very best teams in college football, how could you not root for Penn State to win that game, whether you care about the year up on the stadium or not?
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, I think if you're either a fan but certainly if you're an athlete or a coach, right? You're a competitor. You want to win everything, and so even with the wrestling team, I mean, I've heard people, well, Cal doesn't care about winning Big Ten championships. Well, that's not true.
I'm sure that's not true.
Yeah, Cal wants to win everything. Now, what they have done is, on the years where they haven't won the Big Ten championship, it hasn't been that they've gone into the Big Ten saying, hey, don't worry about this, boys. We'll get them in a couple of weeks.
Right.
It's that they do an exceptionally good job of, all right, well, let's learn from what we saw here and, tweak a couple of things. Obviously, you're not making wild, crazy changes to anybody's games, but it's like, all right, this is what we need to fine tune here to go out and win it. And that's what you saw Ohio State do last year. Again, in the moment, a devastating loss to Michigan. But they went back to work. All right, this is who's in. We're going to turn this thing around. This is some of the things we've got to do, firm up. And they went out and did it. So, I think if you're a competitor, you want to win everything. And yes, at the end of the year, when you look back, are you going to take a national championship over a conference championship? Of course. But in the moment, again, you want to win everything. And I think it would be really cool, obviously, if Penn State is the first team in this new era to run the table on everything. So that is the goal going into the year. And again, I truly believe in my heart of hearts, Penn State has an excellent chance to do it. Now, it's in part, there's several reasons for it. I think, again, this is a really good team, experienced at the right places, has the type of depth and elite coaching and all of that. I also think it helps that they are very heavily favored in 10 of the 12 games of the regular season. That's not a bad place to start. If you're trying to build a championship team, okay, well, we're expected to win. And they have done a very good job in recent years of winning all of those games they are expected to win. Now, are they due? Maybe you could look at it the other way. Well, at some point, you got to lose a game somewhere where you get upset. Yeah, and that could very well happen. I mean, it wouldn't be shocking to see them lose at Iowa, or depending on how Nebraska comes out here, or just somewhere along the way. Again, we've seen other great teams, national championship teams, Alabama and Georgia, and we've seen great teams lose to games that Ohio State and Purdue. You're back at the end of the year, it's like, well, that couldn't possibly have happened. Well, it did. Could Penn State have one of those this year? Yeah. And could they have it in the same year where they exercise the demons against Ohio State? Yep. All of that could happen. But I like their chances just because they have been able to take care of business against inferior opponents, on paper, inferior opponents. And I think they are primed for the whiteout game against Oregon. I think it's a tough trip also for Oregon and all of that. And then, again, I think they're as well positioned as they've been in a very, very long time to go out and win in Columbus. And I think if they do all of that, again, to me, they're well positioned then in the Big Ten championship game and in the playoffs to be able to handle everything that comes with it, in part because of the experiences of last year and then obviously the experiences that are still to come this season. So we'll see how it plays out. Again, as a competitor, you want to win everything. Yes, once you look back at it, you're okay with a couple of losses even along the way. See the Buckeyes last year if ultimately you win the national championship. But, the goal is to win everything. Just go out and take care of business every step along the way, and then you get to celebrate both a Big Ten championship game. And, that Big Ten title becomes a little more significant when you get to add national champions next to it. Then it feels,
I like where your head's at.
You've completed everything and checked off all of the boxes, and that's what you'd love to do. But ultimately, if there's one box that you're going to check, it's not undefeated season, it's not Big Ten championship. The box you want to check is, national champions. And so it's just a different dynamic to this whole season. In some ways, going undefeated and winning the Big Ten championship a la Oregon a year ago, I think sets up the potential for an even more hollow feeling than if you had lost somewhere along the way during the regular season and then lose in the playoffs, because it just sets those expectations, which are very high, again, at the outset here for Penn State, even higher if you go into the playoffs as that number one overall seed and having accomplished what you would have to have accomplished to get that one seed. We'll take a break here. Much more to come on this Tuesday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. Hey, let's see how long I stick around this time, shall we?
No one likes making trips to the gas station. Well, Lion Country Kia can help. If you're tired of going to the gas station all the time, Lion Country Kia can help with the 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrid. Save now with 2.9% APR financing for up to 48 months and get $500 Kia Finance bonus cash. There's 14 available that get 38 MPG combined. Say goodbye to all those pump visits. 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrids start at just $32,285. And be sure to check out the full Kia lineup too, and their selection of certified pre-owned Kias. Remember, every new Kia comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Ease that pain at the pump with a 38 MPG combined 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrid from Lion Country Kia, 1334 Drivable Street off Shiloh Road behind Sam's Club, State College. Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. For details, see dealer or go to kia.com.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
Your first half champion State College Spikes host the 2025 MLB Draft League Championship game at Medler Field at Lebrano Park, Thursday, September 4th. Get your tickets now for just $10 a piece. Enjoy Dollar Dog Night with $1 hot dogs and Thirsty Thursday with $2 12-ounce drafts while supplies last. And the Spikes offer free admission to all students in partnership with Penn State SPA, the Student Programming Association. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Hi, welcome to Timberland Federal Credit Union, a financial cooperative for its members, tracing all the way back to 1973.
Experience Timberland Federal Credit Union, where you're greeted with a smile and financial solutions are tailored to your unique life journey. Here, we're not just financial professionals, we're your neighbors, people invested in your financial needs, literacy, and empowerment. Your dreams matter to us, whether they're about buying a home, growing a nest egg, or embarking on new adventures. TFCU draws from the past and invests in the future, offering modern tools like online banking to give you the freedom to manage your money practically anytime. Additionally, we're passionate about giving back both time and resources because enhancing our community is at the core of why we're here. Visit TFCU in person or online to learn more about our services and apply for a membership today.
WFXS, once again,
Your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority. WFXS America.
98.7 The Fox State College. The Goon and Ironhead.
And filling in for Goon today, Chris Buchanani, kind enough to join us. By the way, no show Thursday, so we're doing our football preview today. We have Pirates baseball Thursday afternoon, so this is it this week, and then the Dear Goon will be back on Tuesday, and hopefully feeling a little better. We're keeping our fingers crossed for the big guy. But it is an exciting opening weekend. Obviously, all fans are excited for their teams. But we do have three big games, bigger than big games.
Best opening weekend you can remember, just in terms of stakes?
I think so, and in terms of I think really intriguing storylines within those games. Obviously, Notre Dame and Miami kind of the history of that series is interesting, and then obviously Miami without Cam Ward, but having the home game. I mean, Notre Dame will be favored, and rightfully so, and
never won down there. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct, right?
Yeah.
I think that was in the one preview, which I did not realize that. Now,
most of those games were in the Orange Bowl, of course, but still
correct.
at Miami.
Yeah, and I do think Notre Dame's run game is going to be very, very good.
Yeah, no question.
The upcoming year. Penn State both will have rushing games that they feel very comfortable with. I do expect that-that'll ultimately be the difference in that game with Notre Dame and Miami. And and obviously the Texas-Ohio State game we'll get to. That's the game, no doubt, on this opening weekend. But that LSU Clemson game, Booch, is just really interesting because of the struggles for Brian Kelly in the openers. I think pressure is mounting there. If you remember, Brian Kelly left Notre Dame because, man, I got to go somewhere where I can win.
Yeah, where I can win national championships, and and I won't be impeded by all the academic requirements that Notre Dame has that stops me from being able to enroll the very best recruits. And yet here we are. What's happened since Brian Kelly left South Bend? Marcus Freeman, who I think is one of the best head coaches working in college football right now, he goes in and that program takes off like a rocket ship. Meanwhile, Kelly feels like he is inching his way onto the hot seat if he's not there already.
I don't think there's any question that they are getting a little more than irritated in Baton Rouge right now. And if they lose this game, again, we keep talking about it's a long season. Obviously, it's if you go on to win the national title, it's inconsequential. But again, because of the consistent failure to open up strongly, and the other thing is, Booch, I think a loss there really puts pressure on when you get to the SEC portion of the schedule. And while certainly LSU is capable of turning around, again, there's not much margin for error then the rest of the year. And I do think that pressure, whether he admits it or not, is got to be starting to eat at Brian Kelly. And from the outside looking in, it does not feel like he is a guy that takes failure in with ease. I'll just let that roll off my back. He's a pretty high-strung guy.
Yeah, I am not a huge fan, and I'm not shy about
I am not
saying
either.
So. Yeah.
So that one will be just interesting to watch the body language. Listen, on the other side, though, I will say expectations might not be quite as high at Clemson as they are at Penn State or Texas this year, but they're pretty darn close.
I'll tell you what, among their fan base, at the very least, and in the state of South Carolina, they're definitely that high.
Yeah, and they think they have the right quarterback, and that's the other one of the great storylines is which of these quarterbacks, experienced or newcomers, and both Michigan and Ohio State are very high on their newcomers. Clemson feels like it has the right guy. Penn State feels like it has the right guy. My understanding is there's a couple people in Texas that think that they might have a decent quarterback now.
Yes,
that's going to be a fun storyline to watch this season too. Is which quarterbacks really kind of take center stage and emerge as this guy could be a high first round pick, maybe even number one overall.
Interesting storyline with these big matchups this weekend, Ironhead, is a lot on the line for the perception of the ACC, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I think it is definitely possible that if both Clemson and Miami lose those games in a fashion that they don't look very competitive, I don't know that there's anything that league can do through the rest of the year to earn a second bid to the playoffs. I think it could be week one could be over, and the ACC's chances to be a two-bid league, especially because of the way Penn State basically ran SMU off the field last year, that might be it. They go 0-2 in those games, and I think it's you guys are getting your conference champs because we have to, and that's it.
Yeah.
Barring like Florida State pulling an upset of the century that, as I said on Twitter earlier today, might get Kalen DeBoer photographed at a seedy strip club at the end of the season. Like Florida State plays Alabama the first week of the season. Unless there is some monumental upset of that proportion, they're not going to get another bite of the apple on the national stage. And the brand of that conference is such that no one is going to give you credit for beating Syracuse or North Carolina or, Boston College.
Yeah. How quickly, by the way, can perceptions change? The fact that a loss to Florida State would be viewed, and it would be viewed as just absolutely the end of the world. We know it by Alabama fans. I mean, you're at Tallahassee. It's a team that last year going into the season, we're all like, yeah, this is almost surely a playoff team, could be a national title contender. Nope. Now it's like, well, no, that's not a top 25 program, not even within sniffing distance. And that it would be, just a devastating loss for Alabama, which fairly or not, DeBoer is obviously under a lot of heat that they need to show up and have that talent at least get into the playoffs this year for Alabama fans to feel at all confident that they indeed have their rightful successor. I like Ty Simpson, their quarterback, and I think Alabama is going to be very good this year. But boy, it's as true as anything in college football that you really don't want to be the guy who follows the guy. Oh yeah, I think they're going to be good. I do think they'll end up in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to get to the Final Four. But I think honestly, I think if they get to the playoffs this year, that they will feel, and I think they should feel, all right, we're getting back on track.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Earning his way. And listen, they are stocked still with talent. They in terms of just pure talent, they still have one of the top 5 or 6 rosters in college football.
Yeah, and DeBoer is a really good coach.
Really good.
No small feat building that team he did in Washington a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and it's one of those things though, Booch, because we talk about this. Sometimes you can be a really good coach and it just inexplicably doesn't work at a given place. I know there's a lot of pressure in Alabama, and that is a possible explanation if it doesn't work there. And by the way, I really actually think it is going to work with DeBoer at Alabama. I think he will win national titles with an S at the end over the coming decade or so. But no guarantee. But we've seen good coaches, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out at a particular stop. And, that is certainly a possibility here with DeBoer and Alabama. And, the SEC is always just like the Big Ten. We're talking about it, Booch. I do think there's a lot of really good coaches in the Big Ten that will never get their just due because it is so hard to make a move in a conference like the Big Ten, because Penn State and Ohio State, Ohio State certainly should probably put them as the top dog. They've certainly earned that. But, you have Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, obviously the top 3 this year, but none of those programs are going anywhere in the foreseeable future. They might not be, winning national titles every year, but they're going to be in the mix more often than not here for the foreseeable future. Michigan is a program that certainly I think will be in the mix. So you start with those 4 programs, and it's just right away, it's like, all right, well, that's going to be tough to crack in to that upper echelon. But, you look at a USC, to me, USC and Nebraska are still the 2 teams that feel like they have a chance. Illinois, I guess, is a given because everybody's projecting them to be a top 5 or 6 team in the conference I'm talking about.
Right.
Anyway, and they're projected 4th in the preseason conference standings. But Nebraska and USC, again, to me, both feel like they have big-time coaches. They have big-time histories, strong alumni, great support, all of that. And both of those programs, while they lost more than they wanted to last year, they also both lost a lot of close games. I think if somebody is going to make a move this year, it's going to be one of those 2 programs. A move, again, into the top 3 to 5 in the conference. It just feels to me like it's going to be one of those programs. I just don't think, I know I've had a couple people bring up Iowa. I think Iowa kind of is what it is. It's always a tough out, always a really good team, especially tough at home. I don't think that's going to change. I mean, I don't think they're going to drop off. I don't think they're a threat to consistently be, a top 4 or 5 program either in the Big Ten. I just think they're consistently going to be a dangerous team, but in that 6 and more likely in that 7 to 9 range in the conference, kind of right in the middle, and they're going to lose a game or 2 that's like, well, that's why they're not with the big boys, and then they're going to win a game or 2 and like, they should be with the big boys. They just can't quite put that together.
Yeah, I always say that Iowa as a football program is the character in the wedding scene of a movie where the preacher's like, if anyone has any reasons to object to this marriage, speak now. And Iowa is the character who stands up and yells, I object. That's all they can do. They can ruin somebody else's wedding, but they're never going to be up at the altar themselves. And
Michigan
you're right.
State always felt like that for a long time, and then they've obviously had their woes here, some self-induced woes.
Yes. Don't forget that season where they made the 14 playoff and then laid a goose egg in the first round. They're a failed marriage, perhaps, for Michigan State.
But Wisconsin's dropped off. Indiana has come on. Indiana will be another very intriguing watch. Can Cignetti, keep that team up there? If not in the playoffs, at least in, a top 20 type of program. And maybe I'm sure he would tell you, yeah, we plan on being back in the playoffs and taking another step. And
he'll tell you, and he won't be shy about it.
He will not. But listen, I think honestly, I know it rubs a lot of people the wrong way, and including me, but I also, are you really going to win at a place like Indiana if you don't have, big time confidence?
You got to be a P.T. Barnum type. Yeah, there's no doubt.
That program, and listen, they have poured, like, they are in. They are believing they should be there with the big boys in college football. And, I think Cignetti truly believes that they are a team that should be winning 10 games on a regular basis. And that should be the expectation there. Whether or not that's realistic.
Yeah. And it's the issue that Cignetti has at Indiana is really the same one that Brett Bielema has at Illinois, in that they are both, to quote Wesley Snipes as Blades, ice skating uphill against the relative lack of brand strength of their programs. Now, you talk about, can Illinois live up to the expectations that they had coming into this season because of the way last year finished up with the big bowl win against South Carolina? That was a really solid football team. They have earned at least the opportunity to see whether or not they can handle the increased attention and scrutiny and the national rankings that they've gotten coming into 2025. But they were that team that was earning that throughout the season last year.
Yep.
And I was just acutely aware of it as a Penn State fan because we were going into playoff selection and there were guys who get paid a lot of money. I'm talking like 6 figures at a minimum to talk about nothing but college football, going on national television and saying Penn State hasn't beaten a ranked team all season. Well, Illinois was ranked when we beat them. And in my mind, almost more importantly, Illinois was ranked at the exact moment that those guys were going on national television saying Penn State never beat a ranked team. And why? Because in their head, because of the way we think about college football, it doesn't count because they're only quote unquote Illinois. And Indiana's got that same issue.
Yeah. Yeah. I just a lot of really interesting storylines in the Big Ten and certainly nationally. But again, that movement within the conference, really hard to break into that top 3 or 4 in the conference. But that movement, from let's say 12 or 13 to 5 or 6 is those are important moves either way, whether you're dropping down or coming up. And, I think there are some programs that are slipping a little bit, and it feels like there are some programs that should be coming on. And again, I think this is a critical season for Nebraska and USC because I think they need to take a definitive step forward. Certainly USC. I mean, the pressure is ratcheting up significantly there on Lincoln Riley. And when I say it's a make or break year, I don't necessarily mean that they need to be in the playoffs, although reading some of the coverage out there, I think the folks that are on that beat believe that the talent, and I think they may be right, that the talent is there, that this is a program that should be in the mix for the playoffs here this year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a tall order. I don't rule it out, but again, they've got to make some significant strides to get back in there. But if they aren't at least, I would say 9-3. I mean, I think 8-4 or worse, and I think that's a 50-50 proposition whether they're better than 8-4 as I look at it right now. But I think if they are 8-4 or worse, I'm not sure Lincoln Riley is back next year, just because I think there's an expectation there that they should be consistently good. But I also think now if we don't make a move, that perception is going to start to set in. All right, USC is kind of what it is. And, Lincoln Riley is, they're, even if they move up to, if they're 8-4 and 8th in the conference, and it's like, well, we're heading in the right direction. Again, it's hard to make that move unless you have a compelling reason, and a new coach with some success somewhere else would be a compelling reason, which obviously is why they brought Lincoln Riley in to begin with.
I was going to say that was Lincoln Riley. That was the point. The difference between the two teams you mentioned, and I think you're right to cite both Nebraska and USC, is that at least in Lincoln, they may not like it, but I do think they were realistic about the fact that they were bringing Matt Rule in for a rebuilding job.
Yes, agreed.
That was not the expectation in USC at all. They felt like they were on the cusp, and they were bringing in Lincoln Riley to get them over the top. And it's been basically the opposite of that.
Yes, and I think if they don't, again, to me, they probably have to go at least 9-3 this year for folks out there to feel like, all right, this thing maybe can get back to where we want it. And make no mistake.
I think they'd be very happy with 9-3. Not thrilled, but I think everybody would be feeling good till the end of the season.
Yes, I think I think you feel like, all right, now we're back on the right track to get into that top 3 or 4 in the conference, get the playoff berth, and maybe truly feel like you're a year away. But I think 8-4, even if it's I don't know what a good 8-4 looks like, but I don't think that I think there's too high of a level of expectation, and I think it's going to feel like we've just slipped to where Lincoln Riley is not going to be able to get us into there's different expectations with different programs. USC is expecting to be in the playoffs. That they are thinking that is a birthright, and that more often than not, maybe not every year, but more often than not, they should be in the playoffs, and not being in the playoffs year after year here. I just don't think it's acceptable out there with the money they have and with the expectations and all of that. But again, I think it's really hard to make that move up in a conference like the Big Ten. And again, I think there's a lot of very good coaches out there that it's just, man, we're kind of, Washington is another program. I don't think they're ready to move into, like, they're not going to compete, I don't think, this year for like even a top 6 spot in the conference. But I do think they are in rebuilding mode, and I think they're building in the right direction. And I can see them making a big step forward this year and maybe getting into competitive mode, contention mode. Next year.
Yeah, I like the moves they're making, and I said it last year. They hired, I thought, a great successor to Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah,
and that they brought in a smart, innovative coach in Jed Fish, who, to me, importantly, because of the realities on the ground in the conference you talked about, already demonstrated an ability to do more with less at Arizona. And that's what you're going to need to do as Washington. I mean, that's that is not by any means a poverty football program, but it's not Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State or even Oregon where they're at right now. So he's going to have to be creative, and I think he can. Yeah,
I do too. A lot of fascinating things to watch in the upcoming season. Booch, prediction for Nevada, and then we're going to call it a show.
We're going to win. We're going to win. We are going to win. And you know what? I'll go out on a limb and say we're going to shut them out.
Wow. I like that. I'm going to say they actually do get on the board, although I think it'll be late. But I do think Penn State covers. I have the Nittany Lions winning this one 55-7 when it's all said and done. Again, no show Thursday. We will have the Pittsburgh Pirates here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. So we will be back next Tuesday. The Dear Goon will join us again, and we will talk about that season opener with Nevada and the exciting weekend that is coming, which will at that point be in our rearview mirror. Until we get together next Tuesday, be good and be safe.
No one likes making trips to the gas station. Well, Lion Country Kia can help. If you're tired of going to the gas station all the time, Lion Country Kia can help with the 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrid. Save now with 2.9% APR financing for up to 48 months. And get $500 Kia Finance bonus cash. There's 14 available that get 38 MPG combined. Say goodbye to all those pump visits. 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrids start at just $32,285. And be sure to check out the full Kia lineup too. And their selection of certified pre-owned Kias. Remember, every new Kia comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Ease that pain at the pump with a 38 MPG combined 2025 Kia Sportage Hybrid from Lion Country Kia, 1334 Drivable Street off Shiloh Road behind Sam's Club, State College.
Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. For details, see dealer or go to kia.com.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things. Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
Your first half champion State College Spikes host the 2025 MLB Draft League Championship game at Medler Field at Lebrano Park, Thursday, September 4th. Get your tickets now for just $10 a piece. Enjoy Dollar Dog Night with $1 hot dogs and Thirsty Thursday with $2 12-ounce drafts while supplies last. And the Spikes offer free admission to all students in partnership with Penn State SPA, the Student Programming Association. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Hi, welcome to Timberland Federal Credit Union, a financial cooperative for its members, tracing all the way back to 1973.
Experience Timberland Federal Credit Union, where you're greeted with a smile and financial solutions are tailored to your unique life journey. Here, we're not just financial professionals, we're your neighbors, people invested in your financial needs, literacy, and empowerment. Your dreams matter to us, whether they're about buying a home, growing a nest egg, or embarking on new adventures. TFCU draws from the past and invests in the future, offering modern tools like online banking to give you the freedom to manage your money practically anytime. Additionally, we're passionate about giving back both time and resources because enhancing our community is at the core of why we're here. Visit TFCU in person or online to learn more about our services and apply for a membership today.
WFXS, once again.
The Fox,
Your sports radio.
broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7, The Fox, State College, the good.